Here we are for match 2. We do get to be on the play. Pretty sweet. Hand has a pretty high density of land, but we do have some good plays. So I think it's a keep. It's kind of hard to mulligan um, stuff like this, in my opinion, and our opponent is mulliganing. 3 is a little high. I would have preferred maybe one of these to be a Burning Tree Emissary. So let's lead off with Foundry Street, because that'll boost our damage potential over the course of the game. Reason being, it'll grow 2 turns, and it looks like we're playing against Affinity, so we definitely have some tech against this. And we'll just hope this start is fast enough to beat them. That's pretty good. That will let us attack with all of our creatures next turn. So we'll be attacking for 6 on turn 3, plus the mutagenic growth. Maybe we can trade up if our opponent has a Mirror Enforcer or something, or eat a Frogmite off this mutagenic growth. Of course, if they just, okay, Prophetic Prism, so pretty slow Affinity start. And we'll, of course, be bringing in stuff like Gorilla Shaman and Smash to Smithereens. And there's the Frogmite, so we'll be able to eat it. 2 Frogmites is a little bit scarier. Well, I guess it's really only 1 Frogmite. Okay, Mirror Enforcer. All right, our opponent also has a pretty good hand, so I lied. But we'll be able to at least kill one of them. And then there's a Lightning Bolt. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to Valley Dasher, and I'm going to bolt one of these Frogmites. And then force a trade off this Mirror Enforcer. And then hope that's good enough. Probably taking out the mutagenic growths in favor of some of the more efficient removal, some of the artifact destruction spells. Could also see an argument for Flame Slash. It actually might be like the perfect Flame Slash matchup. All right, Thoughtcast is pretty good for our opponent. Yeah, we might just get a little bit buried here. Our opponent was able to, deploy a fair number of affinity creatures, but all right, Fire Blast, fairly good draw. I think I would rather trade one of my 2-drops for it. Or one of my creatures for it instead of this Fire Blast. All right, I think that was the wrong creature to block because my Valley Dashers can attack whenever. So now let's see if our opponent has anything. And now we have this Fire Blast waiting in the wings. Our opponent plays another land. Another Great Furnace. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's actually kind of scary. They can just play more free Mirror Enforcers the rest of the game. Although I think if they had one, they would have played it last turn. So it's going to be another Thoughtcast. Could be a Somber Hoverguard. Perilous Research. That's fine. It does restrict them a little. I guess they'll yeah, that's what I figured. Sacrifice the Prof Prism. All right, Carapace Forger is pretty bad. I'm probably going to have to Fire Blast that. Yeah, I'm going to have to, unfortunately. Well, let me think. If I attack like this, my opponent... So let's see. If I just attack as is, I'll attack for 4. My opponent will eat a Valley Dasher, and they'll still have another blocker for next turn. But if I draw a... Yeah, I think... Oh, man, this is rough, but I think I have to. I think that red deck wins typically has to utilize their burn to get rid of problematic permanents like that. And now if my opponent doesn't have, now I have 2 like if 2 of my guys get through, it's lethal. So they have to play more than 1 blocker, which is totally possible. But the more I think about it, the more I think that Fire Blast was correct. Okay, now I'm thinking that they're going to have to draw like Mirror Enforcer Frogmite for this to work out. Flare Husk certainly helps, but they're going to need one more thing. Or they're going to need a Galvanic Blast. If they have a Galvanic Blast, that also puts a wrench in my plans, which they're definitely representing here. And of course, we top deck Goblin Heel Cutter, which would have been perfect. So if they have Galvanic Blast, they'll live. Yep. But, they have to chump here. They've used a piece of removal. And we have 2 lethal attackers on the board now. So same situation. They still need to draw 2 blockers. I mean, I guess if they draw Atog Fling, I'm just dead. All right, well, they concede. So we got a game up on Affinity. A game I wasn't 100% sure we'd win. Now we'll definitely bring in our hate cards. Consideration for Flame Slash. Gonna board out my growths. So the thing about Flame Slash is that I actually do like all of my other hate cards I'm bringing in. So I don't necessarily know if we need it. But then I'm also kind of at a loss what else to take out. I guess we could take out a Denizen, a Cohort, and a Familiar because we brought in the 3 Shamans. So let's run that back. Yeah, we've essentially swapped 3 1-mana creatures for 3 other 1-mana creatures that, although they have less damage potential, you know, I wonder if it's better to take out the Foundry Street Denizens over the Cohorts. But no, I'm actually pretty confident with this. Especially since if we resolve the Gorilla Shaman and we can just go to town on their lands. So yeah, I think this is a correct sideboarding strategy. Wow. I think we have to mulligan. All right, this hand's a little better. I'll scry a land to the top. Perfect. So we'll go turn 1, Foundry Street. Turn 2, we can play kind of whatever. Maybe a Goblin Cohort. Just to maximize our damage potential on later turns. Set up for the Mud Brawler and the Valley Dasher. Alternatively, could just play Mud Brawler Cohort, get in for 4. If I draw another 1-drop, okay, I drew another mountain instead. So in that case, I think I want to go ahead and play Cohort or Valley Dasher, rather. Kind of 6 to 1, half dozen of another, but this way I can set up next turn I can play the Goblin, both Cohorts is what I'm getting at, and then the turn after that I can kick a Bushwhacker. All right, well, my opponent's just going to eat up my creatures here. All right, that's unfortunate. Because now my opponent will have the Carapace Forger at the end of when the dust settles. And they're representing Galvanic Blast. So this might actually be a kind of problematic situation. Of course, we draw another land, so that's not ideal. I wonder what the consideration for kicking the Bushwhacker is, but I don't think that that's correct. So I think we still have to attack with everyone. They'll, we'll eat, trade. I kind of think that's how they want to block. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't really think it matters how they decide to do this. So now the Bushwhacker is actually pretty bad, so maybe that was not a good play on my part. But I guess they'll be tempted to get in with this Carapace Forger. Okay, Atog is pretty scary. Yeah, Atog is actually a little terrifying. I don't know if we can beat a resolved Atog. Well, there's Fire Blast. So willing to be proved wrong. Yeah, because what we can do is we can make them try and go on this. Not all in, but we can definitely try and kill this Atog when they go to block. And I'll have to sacrifice, some not an inconsequential number of artifacts. Like here, they'll have to sacrifice 1. Then I'll basically make it so they have to sacrifice 2 more. And then they can't. Oh, well, Atog just eats it. But we're in a pretty bad spot here. Yeah, maybe it's better to just go ahead and concede. I'm definitely not playing ideally. Yeah. We'll see what we draw, but okay. I'm willing to concede at this point because now we really can't win the game. Well, let's see what we draw. Fair. Game 3, I think now I do want to bring in the Flame Slashes. I think they're too good to not bring in versus our opponent's deck. And maybe we cut some Foundry Streets. Maybe a Heel Cutter. A Valley Dasher. Doesn't feel great, but cutting all those 1-drops and haste guys, but I think we kind of have to in order to bring in some of our better sideboard cards. And we'll just see how this game goes. I think I played last game a little bit too loose. But really what we're hoping to do is get an opener with Gorilla Shaman, turn 2, blow up a land. So like 2 lands, Gorilla Shaman would be a pretty strong start for our deck, simply because we'd be able to kill some of their stuff without it, hopefully without them being able to play Galvanic Blast or something similar. So I am hoping that we get that sort of start. And now that I think about it, the Flame Slashes are absolutely what we want for Affinity, because the Fire Blast is so poor against them. And in fact, I might take out the Fire Blasts to put back in some of my creatures here. Let's make it the Cohort. Because the Fire Blast was pretty bad that game. But we'll be on the play. Wow. Not really the greatest hand, but not exactly the worst hand either. I mean, it's not a sideboard hand, but I don't think it's a hand we can mulligan, which is, the unfortunate thing about it. So opponent has to go to 6. They keep the 6. And is there a way for me to tell where they scry to? They scry to the bottom, so that's a pretty good sign. So let's play Mod Conscripts. Next turn we'll go Burning Tree into Jackal Familiar. No, next turn we'll go Burning Tree into Mod Conscripts. Alright, see, Gorilla Shaman would have been absolutely bonkers this game. Well, there's Foundry Street, so now that's the plan. Yeah, Smash to Smithereens would also be a pretty good draw here, but, unfortunately we're at the mercy of the top of our deck. I just have to hope all these 2/2s will get us there. The next turn we can go... Okay, well this is... Yeah, okay, this is actually amazing. Alright, Mountain, not bad. We'll play Conscripts. And actually, we might hold back the Pup, simply because we can get him with both of our Conscripts that turn this way. I think Bolt any creature. Alright, saving themselves some life here. That's fine. Come on, Gorilla Shaman for me. Or Smash. Yeah, I'm going to have to bolt that. So do my opponent's beginning of combat. We're doing this that we can cut them off that Springleaf Drum mana. Is this going to be a Hydroblast? Wow. Alright, that's fine. I think same plan. Just play the Conscripts. Even though we have the extra mana, the 1 creature a turn lets us get in for more. So now my opponent has to choose between using the Germ to make mana or using it as a blocker here. Because if they use it for mana, okay. Yeah, this is perfect. They would have to have drawn... Yeah, I think we just win the game now. And we draw Heel Cutter. I think it's worth it to play out the Jackal Familiars in case something goes wrong. And that should be lethal. Awesome. I'll see everyone in the next match.